Hi everybody, welcome to video number 25, Classification in ENVI and ArcMap. So this is going to be the start of a series of videos where I show you how to undertake image classification. And we're going to be using an image from Yellowstone National Park, which was collected after the wildfires of 1988. And we're going to be trying to classify the fraction of land that was burned in wildfires in Yellowstone. And this is going to take place over a bunch of videos, and the goal of this video is going to actually just be to explain what is classification, why is it useful, what are the steps in supervised classification, and then what are the basic tools in ENVI and ArcMap that let you do classification. We're going to be, after this video, using only ENVI, so I thought it was worth showing you some of the tools in ArcMap first, just so you know they're there if you want to use them. So first off, what's the goal of classification? Satellite images, of course, are just reflected light, and there's many different things in the satellite image. And the goal of classification is to go from that kind of continuous spectrum of reflected light into a new image in which each pixel is classified into some category, usually a type of land surface. And of course, that's more useful for users. We're basically making a map showing the user what type of surface each pixel is. So a great example is a soil map. We might have sandy soils or laterite soils, and we can reinterpret our Landsat image to break out and assign each pixel into a soil category. And that would be the process of classification. Basically, the way this is done typically is to use differences in the spectral reflectance between different surface types to assign them to categories. So for example, in this example, we see snow has a really high reflectance down in the visible, but low reflectance in the infrared, and looks like herbaceous plants have kind of the opposite. So those different reflectance characteristics would give us the opportunity to separate those spectrally into different classes. What we're looking at here is actually called a spectral separability plot, and typically this is done in order to visualize whether different possible end-member classes are actually going to be separable. And I'll show you in a minute how we actually collect the data to make this separability plot. So for example, snow and herbaceous shrubs are pretty separable, but take a look at urban and forested. Those look a lot more similar, and we may have a lot more trouble separating those into different classes. I'll also note that you can actually use any type of data in a classification. It doesn't have to be just spectral reflectance. We could use band ratios, of course. We can use elevation information. We could even use state or local boundaries. You name it. If we can get it into ArcMap or ENVI, we can use it. So there's two types of classification. Supervised classification, in which the classes are defined by the user. All right, so you tell ENVI what you want to classify. Second type is unsupervised classification, in which you start an algorithm running, and that algorithm actually statistically identifies what the statistically significant classes are that you have in your image. So for the first few videos, we're going to be talking just about supervised classification, because that's the best place to learn. And there's three different stages of supervised classification. We've got the training stage, okay? That's where we're going to draw polygons around our end-member surface types and collect the spectral reflectance data from those that we'll then use in our separability plot. So once we have our training data, the next step is a classification stage where we'll actually use some algorithm to actually try to divide the different classes and assign each pixel into a class. And then finally is the output stage, where we will use often some kind of filtering to clean up our results, and then we may gather statistics about how well we think we did and how successful you were in classifying. So those are the three main stages of classification. So let's go ahead now and look at the different tools that are available to us. So let's start with ArcMap, and I've got a project opened already. Here's a map, a satellite image of Yellowstone, excuse me. Here's the park boundary in red. Here's Yellowstone Lake. You can see a lot of the burned patches in here and the regular forest in green. So our ultimate goal here would be to classify burned surfaces relative to unburned surfaces. And the way classification works in ArcMap, it happens in the classification toolbar, which is right here. If that's not showing up for you, of course, right-click in an open area and find the image classification tool and turn it on. And just quickly, I'll show you what this allows you to do is draw polygons that would represent your different end member areas. So here I've got forest, lake, and burned. Once you've got those, you can go to Training Sample Manager. If you select them all, you can actually plot up histograms using this button, show you some of the spectral differences. You can also have it output statistics for your different polygons. Export those into Excel if you want. Likewise, once you've got your training samples defined, you can go over to the classification menu and actually run a maximum likelihood or other types of classification algorithms. So that's the basic deal in ArcMap, and it is pretty efficient to classify in ArcMap, but it is not as sophisticated as ENVI. So now we're in ENVI. I've got the same image of Yellowstone open, and you can see most of the classification tools are over here on the toolbar under classification, and we've got a whole bunch of tools, and we're going to be going through these in the next few videos, so I won't elucidate them all. But right away you can see there's a lot more options for the types of algorithms you'd run in a supervised classification, and we'll be using some of those in the next videos. So thanks for listening. In this video you learned why classification is important, what steps are involved in supervised classification, and what the basic tools are in ENVI and ArcMap. Please join us for our next video, number 26, where I'll show you how to evaluate spectral separability in ENVI. Thanks for listening.